Hi, I'm Francois, you have that, and I'm going to talk about something very practical today. So it's going to be a lot less strategic and long-term. It's going to be very, very practical. How many of you are building a startup here so that I can figure out? Okay. Oh, good. Okay, almost half. So I'm Francois, I'm French. I've been living in different countries. I've spent about 12 years building tech companies. I've had the lucky pleasure of having a startup to an IPO, and I've had the displeasure of taking a company to complete bankruptcy and pretty much everything in the middle. So I've got a good idea about the good, the bad, and the really nasty side of building tech companies. I've got two businesses. One is called Tech Leaders Capital. We are a bunch of oldies like me. We invest in companies that we like. We're not a venture capital fund. We don't have a thesis, a scope, a size, a stage. We basically invest in people who we believe in, who do things that we like, and where we feel that beyond the capital that we can provide, we can really help them catapult their business. The second business, and I'm representing it now, is called Tomorrow, and it's South London's largest workspace. We have 21,000 square feet, about 2,000 square meters in the regeneration area in the south of London, and we have a beautiful space, and we also have all of our friends, networks of advisors and executives helping our companies succeed. So that's what it looks like roughly. I'm sure you've seen this before, but we're the only one who use open source furniture from Open Desk. This is very spacious, unlike the little WeWork cubicles and glass boxes that you may be used to. This is what your office will look like. One of you lucky winners is going to get it tonight. Whoever wins the competition tonight is going to have a free office at Tomorrow for 1 year with all of our network and experience and services that we'll bring. What makes us, we even have an event space where you can do rock concerts and all sorts, but what makes us really special are those services that we provide. We're very proud to not be from property. We are all from technology. We're all entrepreneurs and now part investors. And what we provide are the 4 key stages that you can see here. Most of the early stage companies that you've built are based around features, products, market problems, and solutions. Very few of you actually figure out what the true value or technology value proposition is. So we spend a lot of time with you figuring out what is it that actually makes the product? What is the diamond in the rough that you have? Once we have this, we then help you with funding. We invest our own capital and the capital from very reputable venture capital firms. We have direct access to them, and then we help you with staffing, particularly in the UK. If you want to grow into the UK, one of your major challenges is going to be to build a kick-ass team. I'm going to show you how we do it. And finally, we help you with commercial growth. Depending on your business, we can have access to government contracts, large company contracts, or other startups. Anyway, so that's us. I'm not doing this on my own, obviously. I've got a super lucky to have an amazing team of partners and friends who help us, from the finest, Midas-touched venture capitalists, the guys behind Zoopla, Deliveroo, and many other billion-dollar exits, all the way to communication experts, the writers for Forbes, people who do or invented crowdfunding as a platform here there in the UK, and others. We've got about 50 people actively involved with our companies, and I typically provide you direct access to the right venture capital company at pretty much anywhere in Europe, some in the US. Corporates that back us, help us, want to know what companies are building, are listed there. We have many more, and it's growing. We're a 3-year-old company, so we're growing ourselves. Some of the companies that we're helping right now and that we have a huge interest in, these 4 categories. We have consumer tech and health. I'm a personal big fan of anything that makes people healthier. So health tech, well-being, anything from Reiki and meditation to medical devices, we can help. So that's us. Let's talk about your team. How are you going to build this? It's very difficult, it's complicated, it's lengthy, and there are a few tricks and pitfalls. So I'm going to take the view. The others can just ignore me. I'm going to speak to you, the person who's got this big idea, and you think you're going to be the next Steve Jobs. If you've seen Silicon Valley, the TV series, I'm sure you're going to recognize that team over here. And of course, it's your first time. So that mixture of excitement and never done this before, how's that going to work? The good news is that you are not alone. Most CEOs that we see today, most, I think it's, in my case, it's more than 85%, are first-timers. Therefore, the first thing that you need to remember, it's not you who should know better, it's you who's not asking the right questions and not finding the right peers. Plenty of peer learning platforms, plenty of experiences that you can learn from, make use of them. The bad side of that is that 90% of you won't be there next year, or at least not with the same startups. This is what death looks like to investors, and this is why it's so difficult to make money with early stage tech companies, and that's why people avoid you all the time. So, two things that are sure. Guaranteed. The first one is, I'm sure you've seen this slide before, you have a great plan, a fantastic financial model, number of users times revenue minus churn equals great billion-dollar value in 5 years. The reality is that you're going to lose your best salesperson very quickly, nobody's going to buy your product, you're going to give discounts, and it's going to get a lot harder. The second point everybody tells you is that the industry is kind to early stage entrepreneurs, and it's complete bullshit. It's the opposite. You don't have a second shot. So plan for much longer, much harder execution, and find the team that can help you get there, because you're not going to get another shot, and hence the 90% death ratio. Am I scaring you, all of you? Yeah, I can hear the silence setting here. So let's talk about, you're early, you're young, you think you've got this great idea, great product, you're planning better, you've got a long thing. All I need now is some venture capital. And to venture capitalists, this is what it looks like coming to these events like this. This is Slush in Finland. How on earth am I going to find the company that I should be investing in? Maybe I should go to smaller conferences. This one, so we go, and it's still a zoo. There's 1,000 people. Everybody's pitching everybody. Gets increasingly difficult to figure out, what the noise ratio is. So then I think, well, I'll go back to my desk. I'll do some research. Maybe look at the new startups that have been listed. And it looks like this. How on earth am I going to find the company that I need? Maybe I should take one sector and only one and focus on that one. And this is what it looks like. This is just marketing technologies, just one subsector of SaaS. So I'm only explaining this because you're going to realize that to investors, you all look the same. And you are tending, stupidly, to do the same thing and present it the same way and have zero personality or differences. So learn that. Try and remember this slide. You look like nothing. So what are you going to need? You're going to need two things. You're going to need a team that rocks, and you're going to need a culture to keep that team and grow it. And we're going to talk about this quickly. When you think team and culture, you think consulting firms, big checks, long process, loads of hugging and entrepreneurial high-fiving. I'm thinking more something like this, which is how do you build a killer team that's going to destroy competition or take a very old, archaic company down, and this is how you do it. Before the how, we're going to talk about the why. As always, start with the why. Why do you need a killer team? Because at your stage, that's the only thing you have to sell. You don't have a product. You don't have a customer path. You don't have revenues to speak of. You don't have proof points. You don't have a finished team. You might have just a few people. And therefore, the only thing you have is the proof point that your mission and your product and where you're going and yourself as the key salesman in charge is capable of bringing in way bigger, more expensive people that would have way better paid job somewhere else and make them join your mission. And this is where every investor will pay attention and start noticing. So if you look at the early stage investors, the Y Combinators and Mark Suster, if you know him, you're going to see that the number one criteria by some margin is the quality of your team. So don't go pitching on your own. You already have lost that opportunity. You only get one shot. If you look at larger funds, Creandum, one of the largest funds in Scandinavia, they're going to tell you exactly the same thing on their website. If you don't read it, it's your fault. If you look at entrepreneur sites, this is Hernandez, the guy from Facebook, who also says, we back teams, we back entrepreneurs who have the madness, the tenacity, and the chutzpah to make it big. Same thing for very large, established, Sequoia Capital, one of the largest and oldest in Silicon Valley. They look for the disruptive ones. So don't sell, don't pitch your product, don't pitch your features. Start with selling why that team is the best team in the business. Because remember, for them, you all look like a bunch of these. And I don't know, how many people don't know who this is? Be honest. Okay, so we have a few still who don't know. This is the founding team of Microsoft. And they look like a bunch of really ugly fucks, didn't they? These guys, I'm sure you all know who that is. Young Steve Jobs and Wozniak. First investor meeting, the report has been published not long ago. That was the report. Very unappealing guys, bearded, smelly, weird. I think we're going to have to fire one of them already. So what is it that you need in your team? And the only thing, the criteria, because you can hire so many people, don't go wide, go very specific. You need 3 things, and the first one is critical. You're going to find somebody who you can share the worst moments with, that will always tell you the truth and be loyal. Integrity, you can't buy, you can't teach, you can't replace. And if at the opposite side, if you have somebody with lack of integrity, huge amount of drive and energy and intelligence, he's most likely going to try and screw you. So first point, hire for integrity. Second point, always make sure that you hire, the first hires are A++, the very best that you think you could never get. Why? Because they tend to attract the other smart kids and the guys who are the best in the class and the guys who they worked previously with. Whereas if you hire a B class as a co-founder or a significant officer, you're going to end up with other Bs, possibly some Cs, and the Cs only care about one thing, is not getting fired, so they're always going to hire people below them who don't threaten their positions. So the first hires you're going to make have to be stellar, outstanding people. Means what? It's going to be you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and it's going to take you forever to secure those guys. You have to invest the time in this. I don't have enough time because I only have 8 minutes left, but these are the mistakes you're going to make, most likely. At least every startup, I've seen about 3,000 so far, and all of them belong to one of those categories. I'm not going to go through them. I think the biggest and most common one is this one. We see co-founders as happy days, amazing, we're going to change the world. Most of them end up fighting in front of you within 6 months. So rule number 1, get a prenup. If it doesn't work out, who leaves, how much, when, what can we do with the shares? That would be my number 1 recommendations. The others are kind of obvious, but I'm pretty sure that you recognize yourself in one of those. I've just explained that. It takes time. It's a massive investment, but it's your biggest asset. Large corporates can't do it. They can't build culture. They can't build amazing people. And people leave big companies with better jobs, better salaries to join you. So if that's not the best return on investment, you're misreading. Where do you start? Obviously, online. There's tons and tons of sites. I'll let you take a picture next. That one is just a list I've done in a 5-minute search. Plenty of sites will match you with founders, co-founders, technical founders, commercial founders. So go online and do your work. There's even one now, which is actually a shared, open, global, over 3,500 people listed on a shared, open Google Doc. So if that's not simple enough, that's the URL you want to go to and find your co-founder or significant other. Unfortunately, because that would be way too easy, you're going to have to go and meet people. You're going to have to do these nightmare, horrible hackathon weekends and project weekends and bullshit corporate projects and challenges, because that's where you're going to meet people of interest. Not because you want to partake in it, but that's because you're going to find other people who are also looking for other people. So it's a combat sport, meet people in the flesh. The process, I'm going to very quickly, because I don't think you have time for the full recruitment. Super simplified version. You have 4 steps to it. First one is filter out all the crap, because 99% of it will. So look for skills, look for direct experiences of what the person has to do, and then remember, look for integrity. Anything that says bitches and moans about the past, criticizes people, anything that is critical and not positive, move them out. Number 2 is meet them, and again, what you're looking for is that person, once I'm away, going to represent the values, the ethics, the energy, and the hard drive that I want my co-founder to do. Once you have those, you test them. So many people hire people in a rush to get somebody that they forget to actually work together, walk together, dine together, see how the other person behaves in public and with other people, how they are with their subordinates. So test everything. And once you've tested and you've got a few, do some work, do a project. If you like running, go running together. If you like to do charitable work, spend a weekend building a site for a charity. See how the person performs when there's a deadline and it's not flexible. See how the person performs with other people when that person thinks that they're all a bunch of idiots and they happen to be your favorite staff. Anyway, do some stuff together. Interview techniques, I'm sure you've read that, but in case you can't be bothered reading, this is a shortcut. You are selling the company to somebody who's not going to join you. Why? Because he's the one who says, I nearly made it to Google. And he's going to talk about Google to all of his friends. So the first job for you is to sell the company, the mission, what you're about, what you're building a rocket and going to the moon so that everybody else talks about you. After that, obviously make it exciting first. But you're not friends, you're not pals, you're not trying to become that either. You're there to be into a process, a very competitive process, so that people show you and deliver on the best that they have. It's not a mates over beers. So far, so good? Sorry, it's very fast. I hate slow slides, so we're going to keep going like this. 20 minutes will be gone. It'll be quite quick. And I've got 4 minutes left before you suffer. Culture is everything that they do when you're not there. With that culture, it's just a job. You can't attract good people, better people than your competitors, because they will always pay them more, but people will not join them. It's just a job. So why culture? Because that's the first thing I've expressed that your investors are going to look for. So one thing that keeps you together, because at the end of the day, when you're going to walk through hell, and you will, the team is the only thing that you have. And why they stay together is because they don't want to go anywhere else. And that's the culture you want. Tons of choices. Everybody thinks of culture as this San Francisco, West Coast, chinos and blue shirt with the logo of the company on it. Bullshit. This is not culture. Culture could be anything. Facebook's culture is break things, let users test it, but ship fast. Ship fast, break some eggs. Some other people are extremely organized and they want to have everything turned into processes and high speed, repeated tasks. Some other people actually say, fuck you all. We want to be the dissenters. We want to be anti anything that is structured and conformists. Some other people are just rock and roll and want to have a good time and are very creative. Some others just say, we are the best money-making machine. Don't want to hear about your family, your background, where you're from, how much time you need, but we will all focus on one thing, optimizing investments. People care about the environment. Some people care about boozing. Anyway, you get the idea. Tons of cultures, and that is how you attract the best people in being in the place that they can't find elsewhere, because you're a cultural match. So whatever it is, the first task that you have to do as the boss or the founder is to be honest. Sounds obvious. Very few people actually do it because we all have fears of disclosing too much to the outside. But there's only that one you that can attract them. Rule number one, I don't know how many consulting firms you've seen, met, or heard of that do these long programs about building the right culture for companies. Every single company I've seen that has a mission statement with a cultural statement usually goes bust. The great example I choose is always BlackBerry, which has been stating for years at great cost what their value set was, how employees were encouraged and innovative and information would be shared, when the reality everybody knew, I worked in telecoms in the past, that it was the most oppressive, hierarchical, impossible to climb the ladder, and new innovative ideas would be crushed. That's why the BlackBerry still has the same keyboard. So don't go for this. Don't go for the blueprints. Don't try and process things out of something that is inherently human. Don't try and write it. There are no scenarios. Your culture will change. The values will change. The ethics will change as your people evolve, and let them be. So it's really complicated because it's human. You can't write it. You can't process it. And you have to keep it super simple. The way of me keeping it simple with the office culture and the overall mission that all the team buys into is to be real. You have nothing to hide. You have to be the one bringing the worst possible news to all of your staff, secretary included. Everybody has to know how the company is doing. And when it's not doing well, everybody needs to know, because you need to ask them, what would you do? How would you fix it? What can we do together? It's not the boss telling them what to do. It's actually the boss telling them for them to be truly empowered. This is how you gain the hearts and soul and the long weekends, the long nights of people without paying them more, because they want to. If you don't know SMART, you should read the book. Be reasonable in your expectations. Everybody has limits. Everybody has families, wives, kids, and weekends. You can't burn them out. So do something that is reasonable, ambitious, but achievable, and measure everything. Getting users at some stage will grow in the future. Once we've done this, maybe we can do that. It doesn't get you anywhere. You need to actually be factual, even when you have nothing. Getting the first 10 users is the hardest job you're going to have to do, and pretty much on your own with no cash. Getting the first 1,000 users is going to be even more difficult. After that, usually it gets a little bit easier. What worked for me, little tips of recruitment, and my time is up, is stand-up meetings. Ban and remove tables from your meeting rooms if you have one, and stand-up meetings lasting 20 minutes, exactly the time of the speech. It gives you time for 4 decisions, 5-minute pitching, One show of hands, everybody votes. And it's incredible once you don't have a laptop and a mobile phone and a reclining chairs, people are waiting and talking, how much quicker decisions can get made. And I have a rule on Friday, unless it's really impossible, we all have lunch together and everybody talks about everything else. Again, from the secretary to the CEO, sharing the good, the bad, and the really bad news. If you do that, I think you're going to make a fantastic team. Summary, your job is not the CEO or the founder. Your job is to be looking for these rare unicorns, which are amazing people, A++, who are very difficult to court. They're better paid than you will ever pay them. It's your job to go and hunt them down because nobody else will. And your first hires have to be those unicorn A++. But it's the best thing you're going to do. You're going to feel like you've built your own family. You can't choose your family, but this time you actually can. So it's the best thing you're going to do. So enjoy and go and build a fantastic team. Come and see me if you wish after that.
Was okay.
Was okay?
Just kidding. Do you work with blockchain startups?
So we do. I don't believe in blockchain startups as a category. I'm going to be, again, very, I'm going against the grain. It's a bit like saying I'm a database company. Yep, you use a database. Database companies writing software is great. A blockchain startup either builds the blockchain for everybody else, but otherwise I believe in blockchain applied technologies to one sector. So yes and no. Yes, I use and I help companies that have blockchain as their fundamentals, but that's not a business.
How important is the team compared to money and other resources? You kind of said it, but...
I think, given this, I think it's easy. The team is the only thing you have to sell. If you don't have a team, you're not going to get a great product. You're not going to be the competition. You're not going to raise money or from the wrong people who are going to typically bring you down. So team first.
And how to fasten the process from startups to scale-ups is the most popular question here. In 20 seconds, if you can.
It's really interesting. The best one is revenue, and otherwise is to find your product market fit at a super low cost. Don't come pitching anybody if you don't know how much it costs you to get a user and how much the user will produce. You'd be amazed how many people have cost of user acquisitions which are greater than the lifetime value. If you have that, you don't have a business. Go back and start again.
Clear words. Been a pleasure. And we'll have a fireside chat now.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.